Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John and this video is going to be my top 10 4Ks from the 1970s. So I'm a big fan of the 1970s in general, and it's a great thing to see that the 1970s being taken care of on the 4K front. So when 4K was first announced, a bit like Blu-ray, they went for the sort of really big selling titles, and which is great, but the ones that I wanted to see, especially the 4K medium go-to, would be the sort of more obscure titles, the ones I thought would look really good, but would they come out in 4K? But I'm pleased to say that now any amount of stuff is coming out in 4K. So all of these movies have a 4K digital intermediate. Now that's great to see, but it's not necessarily to say that a 4K DI is the be all and end all. Some of these movies that haven't got 4K DIs look spectacular, but I'm just saying that all of these have. So all of these movies were shot in 35mm, which means that you can get so much information out of these prints. So I consider these movies to be all classics. And if you're looking for some good 4Ks to put in your collection, these ones, in my opinion, are the best ones that I've got from the 70s. So at number 10 is 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Now this is released by Kino Lorber. This is a United States company. It does say on the back it's got Dolby Vision. It's got a 5.1 surround sound, and which sounds brilliant. So all the 4Ks I'm going to talk about today are region free. But bear in mind that sometimes the Blu-ray is region locked to that particular country, which is America. So bear in mind that you might need a multi-region player to watch all the features on here. So this movie here is a bit of a revelation actually, because I can't remember watching this at all, although the Arrow version is quite nice. But it's one of those ones where the colours is a big star for this, and the dark levels on here are absolutely brilliant, because a lot of this movie, I think the second half of this movie is at night and the first half is at daytime, so you get the best of both worlds. So this movie looks really, the skin tones on here, the sharpness of the people's features is next level. Also the textures on the coats that you see Donald Sutherland wearing really stand out to me. And this was one that I thought might look really good, but I was really surprised at how good it looked. And it just shows you, I'm going to say probably for most of these movies that you think in 1978, did they have the technology to make a good looking movie? Well, yes they did. They had more than the technology, and this 35mm printer that you keep going about is the fact that it's just the best source material you could ever get, well, at the original negatives. So at number 10, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So coming in at number 9 is 1978's Halloween. This is released by Scream Factory, and it is absolutely, it's just one of the best releases you could ever get. Now, if this had been the previous release that was released in the UK, it wouldn't have been in the top 10. That was okay print, but it was not really, it was the colours that let it down. I think the colour timing was all wrong for it. This colour timing is much more what I would consider Halloween to look like. And I've said this before, but John Carpenter has this knack of just making good looking movies, and this movie is no exception. So the packaging for me is one of the best packagings I've ever seen. The outer shell here, which is sort of like a hard box, is unbelievable. You get the original artwork there as well. So it's got everything you could want. And the star of the show is the fact that, a bit like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the first half is in light, the second half is in dark, so you get the fact that if it didn't have good dark levels, it would just take some away from it. But it's in so good, this movie. The colours in here are unreal. The picture sharpness is very sharp, and also it's got Dolby Atmos as well, which is essential for a movie like this. And I do think that these things are still available, and if you want the zenith of Halloween, do check out this Scream Factory release. They have just nailed it. The colour timing they've chose for this is what I consider to be the ultimate colour timing for it. There is different colour timings, but sometimes it looks too bright or too dark. But for me, they've nailed it with this one. So that's coming at number 9. That's Halloween. So at number 8 is 1977's Star Wars. Now, funny enough, I've been checking these all out on my OLED TV, and it's the first time I put them together and thought, right, what's the best looking ones when I went through them. I've changed my mind quite a bit on what I thought some movies where they would be. This is one of them. I didn't think this would be in the top 10, if I'm honest, but I'm only going off what I've seen on my OLED player and on my OLED TV with a 4K player. And this movie was surprisingly good on the OLED. It's pin sharp. The fact is, for me, the colours in here are really good. But it was the sharpness which got me. It's a movie I have seen recently, and I did remember really enjoying it. But I thought on this sort of flick through that the black levels and the colours in just general just really stood out to me. The fact when we're on Tatooine and you've got that sort of the desert scenes, I think it just looked really, really nice, and the colours and the sharpness of the picture was a lot better than I thought when I'd watched it previously on my old TV. So this is why I'm taking a new look at some of these movies, and some movies have like went up and down in the estimations of where would I put them. So for me, Star Wars looks really nice. I know it's not the original cut, which would be nice to get that one on here, but will we ever see it on 4K, or will we ever see it in general, legitimately to buy? I don't think so. So the sound quality in here is Dolby Atmos, which is brilliant for this movie with all the things flying around in it. So I was quite surprised at how good this one looked on the new telly. So coming in at number 8, that's Star Wars. So at number 7 is 1978's Grease. Now, funny enough, I did used to have this movie a lot higher in my movies on 4K. Now, this movie does look spectacular. I'm not taking anything away from it. When it's sharp, the picture quality on here, the colours on here are insane. And the sharpness on here is just unreal. But there's some softer scenes in here. And I don't think that's anything to do with the way it's been mastered. I think it's just that's the way it was shot. I think it's just got some softer touches in some of the scenes, which takes it down a little bit on my ranking of this, because what I had to do, I had to be honest about this. If this is one of my favourite films, I had this, if it was going on my heart, I would have this movie higher. But I have to tell it like it is. It's not many scenes, but it's enough to sort of say that there's a little bit of a dip sometimes in the quality, but that's not really taking anything away from it. I'm just being a bit critical, because all these movies are quite hard to separate, and had to like pick faults if it was. It's got a 5.1 surround sound, which it's really nice, but I would love to have an Atmos. I don't know if Atmos is better for music. I'm not too sure about that. The obviously the very sad passing of Olivia Newton-John, which is still in my mind. I know it's happened a few weeks ago, but I'm still thinking about Olivia Newton-John, and I think it's just such a big shame that she's no longer with us. And this movie is one that I've watched very, very recently, and I think I'll watch it again very soon. But it's spectacular as a movie, but like I say, it's got a few softer things in it which do take this movie down a touch, but that's not taking anything away from the fact you will have a blast with this movie when you get it. So number 7, that's Grease. And at number 6 is 1979's Alien. So because this movie has no natural daylight in it whatsoever, it's either on a ship or it's on a planet in darkness. This movie here, the black levels in here is the one that sort of made me think, wow, this is next level. Most of it takes place like not at night but in darkness, and I remember the VHS, you could barely make out what was going on, but this one here you can see every detail, and also the fact that the people, the faces are pin sharp as well. It's got a 5.1 surround sound, which is good. It would have been nice with an Atmos. I mean, can you imagine what the Atmos would have put in this with like aliens, well, an alien flying all over the place. So yeah, so I was quite surprised at this one. It would have been one that I might not even put in the top 10, or thought it was okay, but I didn't realize how good it was. This is one of the benefits of having an OLED display. So this is very much a demo disc for the black levels. So at number 6, that's Alien. So coming in at number 5 is 1977's Smokey and the Bandit. Now this is the Blu-ray slip that goes on the 4K, because there's no actual 4K slip in the UK market. And I got this case off my good friend Paul, aka the 4KChef. I'll leave a link down to his channel down below, so I could house this one on the shelf. It looks really good on the shelf actually. And the colours on here, especially Burt Reynolds' shirt, just look insane. They're so bright, it's unreal. And this movie is mainly shot outdoors, which is great to see, because you know that you're going to get some good sort of like the blue skies and that. And it's the colours. This has got Dolby Atmos as well, which I didn't really realise. So that's the one I thought would never get in the top 10, and here it is at number 5. Surprisingly recommended, didn't think it would be. So at number 5, that's Smokey and the Bandit. At number 4 is 1979's Zombie. This for me, it's absolutely perfect. It's got Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, the whole lot. It's the best version of this movie, and I think it probably will be the best version of this movie, bar none. And for me, I just think that this movie just looks spectacular. Now what I will say is that the second half of the movie, where they're going to the island, is by far the better part of the movie for the picture quality. That's when it comes to life. I mean, the movie looks good, and I mean, to be honest, I've never seen this movie look so good. But the second half of the movie is where the vision and everything comes together, and some of the colours and some of the sharpness you get in the scenes from when they get in the island is just unreal. I mean, if I had I went with me heart and not me head, I would have put this movie right at the top. But I have to be, you know, have to be honest with this, that it is my favourite horror movie of all time. And I do think this is one of the most spectacular movies you'll ever see. But there is some movies that do top it. Just like this top 5 is very, very close in the margins that this movies can like beat each other by. But unfortunately, I have to put this at number 4, and that's not taking anything away from it. If you see this one, you will know that it's probably one of the best looking horror movies you've ever seen in your life. So at number 4, that's Zombie. So for number 3, I'm going to do something I've never done before in the top 10. I'm going to put number 3, number 2, and number 1 exactly tying. Now what I did was I could not like separate these movies at all. They all had something spectacular about them. And I thought, well, this one looks a little bit better because of that, and this one looks a bit better because of that. The sound's better in this, but I thought, no, all 3 of them have the things in them that could make them number 1. And maybe on a certain day there will be number 1. But it's got the point now, on my last watch on the TV downstairs, I could not separate these at all. So coming in at 3, 2 and 1 in no particular order is 1979's Apocalypse Now, 1977's Suspiria, and 1975's Jaws. When I put them on, they all looked, well, absolutely spectacular. The colours on here are unreal. Apocalypse Now has that the first half is great, but the second half is the best part of the movie. That's when it comes to life, when they're in the jungle. Suspiria is great all the way through, but the colours in here are the best colours out of the whole lot. Jaws is, for me, the best looking print for the whole thing. It doesn't have a dip in any other qualities. But it does look great when it's on the boat as well. So they've all got movies of certain different features which stand out. The sharpness on Apocalypse Now and when they're in the jungles is unreal. You've never seen nothing like it. The features on the faces, the sweat on the faces, the detail in the hands when they're writing things down, it's unreal. The jungle scenes are some of the best sort of like outdoor scenes I've seen in my life. Suspiria has got this amazing soundtrack, I feel, and also the colours that Dario Argento was able to get in this movie is just unreal. How he's got the 3 colours into the sort of coming from different angles. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. It's the best looking horror movie for colours that you will ever see. It's more of a visual treat than well, it's not more visual treat than the movie because the movie is so good. But I think it's one that you can kind of just get lost in the way it looks. The reds, just everything about it is colourful and to the extreme. And Jaws, of course, is just for me, it's a flawless movie. You can get a blast. It's 2 hours of sheer joy. You've got the first half is on the island, the second half is on the boat, and everything about it is just pin sharp, beautifully shot, a masterpiece actually. I think all these 3 are masterpieces in the different ways. But for Jaws, for me, it's a more complete film. So to be honest, in some days I would put this one first, or this one first. It's so hard to pick the 3 here. So that's why I'm going to put these all at number 3, 2, 1, or all at number 1. So yeah, so that's a bit of a strange one that come up, but I knew when I was looking through them, I saw this one first, this is number 1. I saw that one, I thought I'll put that number 1. I saw this one, I'll put this at number 1. So I thought, why not just make them all number 1? So at number 1, you have Apocalypse Now, Suspiria and Jaws. So thanks for watching, you take care, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.